there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes, and for the next hour plus, you know how this goes. I always say an hour, but it's not an hour, really. We're going to be talking about the wild, wild world of professional wrestling. We've got some great stuff to non-chew on, and it's going to be great, and we're going to be doing it right here June 11, 2020, right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Because yes, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is recorded live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And that means, when I mean that it's recorded live, that means that there are people who come into the chat to join us live in the chat. And first and foremost, before I get into saying hello to everyone who's already here, big birthday shout out to Kelly Torres. I hope my birthday wish to you was to not massacre your last name, but I feel that's exactly what I did. I apologize, but happy birthday, Kelly. Kelly's a regular member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show chat, and I am very, very happy that they're celebrating their birthday today. Kelly, happy birthday. I want to say hello to Tim Trevor as well, our boy Throwback27. Follow him on YouTube. He's got his new show going on. You gotta follow that. You gotta find your boy Throwback and show him some love over on his own YouTube channel, where he as well talks about wrestling. I want to say hello to Evan Wright, who's here as well. Robert Larry has joined us. Thomas Gories is here in the house. Who else we got? Going to DGMC is here. Ben as well. Anakin JMT. Hello, folks. We've got JPQ of the No Particular Angle podcast, bringing back an old Mr. Warren Hayes meme. Good to see you. We've got Mr. Fantastic. That's the kind of stuff that I love. Because I love saying the word fantastic. Thank you for being here. Trinity Clark is in the house as well. Oh my goodness, there's a whole packed house. Look at that. Joe from Go Indie Now is here as well. One Fall Podcast. Tony Weekend has just jumped in as well. My God! Carlos is here too. Look, it's just amazing. Look at all these fantastic people who have come to listen to me rant about wrestling for a little while. We're going to be doing that. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here. If you like what you're seeing already, hey, because after all, I do have my New Japan shirt on. If you do like the New Japan shirt, give the video a like. That's what the other YouTubers do, right? It's like, hey, if you like X, click like, right? That's the game. That's what you have to do. You can give the video a thumbs up. Or if you're listening to this on demand as well and you like my New Japan shirt, you can give a like to the video as well. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, please consider giving any kind of love that you can, a like, a subscribe, a review, whatever it is. I do appreciate it. And if this is your first time listening to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, hey, do subscribe to the channel, to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, or consider becoming a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel as well. You can go to the to youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. There's a nice button called join. And if you join the channel, you get access to some exclusive emojis that only members can use. And I'm sure, as you can see Throwback in the chat right now, making a display of all the exciting emojis that are available to channel members. You can also, show some support to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show by heading over to patreon.com/Mr. Warren Hayes and becoming a monthly Patreon. You get a whole bunch of extra content there, plus access to the post show, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show post stream, I should call it. Warren is off the clock is what it's called. Much more relaxed atmosphere. I take the time. We chat. There's a lot of discussion with the chat. We sit around, talk some more about wrestling. Some more happens immediately after I'm done here on the main channel. So head on over to patreon.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Another great way to show some support for the show. And another way that you can show support for the show is by dropping a super chat right here live. And if you do, I will read your question, comment, mood, thoughts online, such as our boy Tim Traver, who left us a super chat just before I got on air. Says, after dealing with the heat, I'm going to sit back and chill and listen to Mr. Warren Hayes' podcast. I definitely deserve it. That's right, Tim. You do deserve some Mr. Warren Hayes. Y'all deserve some Mr. Warren Hayes in your life. You can take it for good or ill. Is it a good thing to deserve Mr. Warren Hayes? Is it a bad thing? That's up to you. It's like art. It's up to your own interpretation. You decide. You basically decide. Yeah, so there you go. So super chats. And hey, by the way, I'll be over on Fightful tomorrow evening, of course, after SmackDown for the post SmackDown show. Saturday morning, since it's a pay-per-view weekend, I will be doing a prediction show Saturday morning. Of course I shall. And I will be joined by Jizzy of the Deadass Girls podcast Saturday morning to talk about WWE Backlash. So if you want to have more predictions previewing the pay-per-view on Sunday evening, come on over, 11 a.m. Saturday. It's going to be a good time. Jizzy's been on the show before. She contributed to the Women Love Wrestling compendium tome book about women in wrestling, basically. So she contributed to that. Looking forward to having a proper one-on-one just to talk about wrestling, because we talked a lot about the book last time, which was cool because it's a good book. But now we're just going to talk about wrestling, and that's going to be fantastic. And don't forget, you can also pick up the Mr. Warren Hayes show over on Smart to Death Radio, that you can find on any podcast application as well. That's another great way. And then on top of that, you get to listen to Smart to Death. You get to listen to our boy Darren Kirkby, Mags. He's got a bunch of podcasts over there. Badlands, Why We Watch. You have John, who does JPQ, who does the No Particular Angle podcast, and Queen of NE, who does the Queen of NE podcast. Queen's Court is what it's called. So go ahead and check that out as well. So you get a whole bunch of content as well if you join the Smart to Death. If you follow Smart to Death, right there. Hey, and of course, don't forget belltobells.com for all your women's wrestling, coverage. If you haven't checked it out by now, Kristen Ashley was able to chat with Mick Foley. It's not an interview, but she chatted with Mick Foley. Mick Foley was like, hey, I have an article in mind. Could I write it for your website? Kristen Ashley went, let me think about it for like all about 2 seconds. Yes, absolutely. So there's an article from Mick Foley that's still there. It's a great article talking about a specific women's wrestler who has a very big influence on his career. So you should go check that out. BELLTOBELLES. That's the address. You can also follow them on Twitter. So there you go. That's how we do it. That's how we hang. And now we're going to move right into weekly wrestling inspection. All right. Want to say hello to Patrick Mason, who jumped into the chat. Hello, Patrick. Welcome to the chat. All right, so let's start off with giving some cool beans. I'm going to give some quick final thoughts regarding NXT Takeover. I did the post show on Fightful if you want full thoughts in regards to that. I did the post show with Alex Pulowski. So if you want like my full thoughts on the show, you can go check that out. But some quick takeaways here. Match of the night was, in my opinion, unquestionably Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. I thought it was a physical, hard-hitting match. None of the spots were wasted or were useless. Everything mattered in this match. I loved it. Tons and tons and tons. So yeah, really one of my favorite matches. My match of the night. One of my favorite matches so far in the very, very, well, we're halfway done with June already. I was going to say June is very early on, but no, we're halfway there. So yeah, so that's really good. I'm really excited about that. About that match. You should go check it out if you haven't. It's worth it just for that. Io Shirai is your new NXT Women's Champion. That's great news. I think it was a good move to put the title on her. Killer Cross squashing Tommaso Ciampa on TakeOver in less than 6 minutes is a bold move. And it is a good move. This is how you build a monster, folks. You have him go after one of the tippy-top guys of the company, a guy where you're like, This guy, he's world championship material. He's he's part of the he's on the other side of the ceiling. He's at the top. He's always been at the top. It's Tommaso Ciampa, and you have him just run through him. Ooh, it was daring. It was a big move by them. So that's very I liked it. I thought it was a good move. Another takeaway I have from TakeOver is that Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai are magic together. Absolute magic. I love everything that they do when they are in the ring together. Their match was at Portland. The street fight that they had, it was outstanding. Here, they had the interactions that they had in the 6-woman tag match was so good. I wish they could feud forever, but then we'd get bored. We'd want something else, but in the meantime, that's fantastic. The backlot brawl didn't do it for me. I will go as far as to say that it stunk up the joint. I thought it was kind of lame. I thought it was funny that Dexter Lumis ran in to kidnap Strong and Fish. Wish they would have played that off over the next couple of weeks and didn't bring him back immediately. Beggars can be choosers or something to that effect. So that was overall. I think it was a good show. It wasn't a blowaway show. It wasn't one where it's like, oh yeah, this is one of those takeovers, but it was good. I think even a tepid throwback is not throwback. Just all throwback. A tepid takeover is still better than a lot of other shows. Speaking of throwback, he left a couple of super chats here regarding TakeOver. Throwback says, Cole versus Dream was the worst match at TakeOver. We are in agreement. The best was a tie. Balor versus Priest in the triple threat. What would you do to make Cole versus Dream better? By the way, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is sick. The best thing that I would do for Adam Cole versus Dream is not have them feud anymore. I don't think it works. I just don't think it works. Besides, there's rumors going around that we may not be seeing Velveteen Dream in NXT for long. I think his moving up to main roster is imminent, but I think these guys are done. I don't think it was a good feud. And as far as Assassin's Creed Valhalla goes, it looks okay. I'm burnt on the Assassin's Creed series. The last fun one that I played was the Pyro and Black Flag. After that, I thought they were all very iffy and very redundant. And, if I want my Norse mythology, I'm going to play God of War. The 2017 now, 2018 God of War. By God, that's a good game. Still can't beat the final Valkyrie. Throwback also left us another super chat. He said, which Pokemon are you, bud? I am 100%. 100%. My spirit Pokemon is Psyduck. That's unquestionable. He said he got his evolutionary hoodie of Ghastly. Who should be Keith Lee's next opponent? Well, I don't think he's done. I don't think he's done with Johnny Gargano, if you ask me personally. But Finn Balor is challenged for the North American title this week, so I think that's where we're going. Personally, I would have gone with a Finn Balor Adam Cole feud. That's what I would have done, and continue a little bit of the Johnny Gargano Keith Lee feud. I really like the idea of a smaller guy being the heel in this feud, and I think it's not something that we're really used to seeing in WWE all that much. I like it. Let's then move on. Let's get some hot trash going here then. All right? Just very quickly, the Miz and Morrison stuff on SmackDown last week, it just bugged the hell out of me, and I didn't think it was fun. I'm okay. I appreciate Rob Wilkins. How are you doing? I just want to say, if you enjoyed it, more power to you. This wasn't designed for me. I thought it was dumb. I thought it was extremely dumb. And I thought it was boring. It really felt like 2006 Degeneration X. Yeah, having Braun's protein shake explode, the slime. I don't understand it. And who's looking good here? How is this helping Braun Strowman? If you are a regular viewer of the MrWarrenHayes show, you know that I think they're mismanaging Braun Strowman's championship run here. A big time. Really, really, really big time. I failed to see how this is helping him be established as a strong champion, as someone who knows what he's doing. He's caught in an act which is a comedy act right now, Miz and Morrison, that's what they are, and it's not doing him any favors. Granted, he pushed a van over, and again, regular viewers will know, actually, that I've been clamoring for Braun Strowman to get back into beast mode and start doing these incredible feats of strength. I was happy to see that, but I would much rather like him to do them in legit fits of rage and not in response to kooky antics. Anyway, that's the kind of creative stuff that we get under Bruce Pritchard's watch over on... Yeah, don't worry, we're going to be talking about that in a bit. By the way, Evan, I saw your super chat. I'm just saving it for a little later when I will be talking about New Japan. Let's keep on going with the hot trash. Why the hell? This is the misstep right here. Goodfella 1422. How you doing? This is the misstep right here with Sonya Deville. It happened. It has occurred. It has landed upon us, and it sucks. It sucks. I really, really don't like what they're doing. Why suddenly? The whole thing, the Lacey match was okay. It was fine. My God, did she mow Lacey down when the match started? She just ran her over. It's like the Strowman Express. Give me the Deville special. And it doesn't go choo-choo, it's electric. You don't hear it coming. You can't hear the motor. It's like next thing you know, whop, you're dead. Somehow that all made sense in my head, by the way. I mean, Sonya did all sorts of cool shit during the commercial, which baffles me. She did that they had to replay. This was a taped show. Why didn't they keep the cool shit? Why didn't they edit the show so that the cool shit that Sonya was doing, we could actually see it on TV instead of during replays? Because she did some really good stuff. She did some really, really good stuff, and that bothers me. So the match goes on, and then you have Mandy, who clearly has been taking hints from the Jinder Mahal school of promos, and she appears on the Titantron and she says, "Hey, Sonya, I'm over here." That's not exactly how she talks, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And she says, basically, "Look, hey, I'm over here," and she completely distracts Sonya. She says, "You're not a fighter, you're a failure," and this causes Sonya to lose her mind. Oh, yeah. This is what causes Sonya to go nuts and just like completely lose any sense of what's going on. And she gets rolled up and she gets pinned. Why are we deciding to cool off? Why are we deciding to cool off a legitimately hot act right now? A legitimate women's wrestler who is legitimately being pushed real strong in a way that could get her over. Why is WWE deciding to, no, we're gonna cool this down a bit? Jesus Christ. You know what it would have been really badass? You have Mandy try to distract her. Sonya's like, or at least Lacey tries to roll her up, but Sonya's like, "No way, Jose." And she murders her again this week and covers her. And then that adds to the feud. Mandy didn't need this for heat. Sonya needs to maintain the fact that she's a killer. And I don't know why we're going back to Mandy and Sonya. It felt like we were done with it, right? It feels to me like we were ready to move on to something else. I think it's dumb creative. I think it's not taking care of Sonya. This is the misstep. This is it right here. And we'll see how things go, but put a pin on this moment here on last week's SmackDown as far as Sonya's career goes. Put a nice big juicy pin right there. Juicy pin. I don't know. Next, let's go have some cool beans. It'll refresh us a little bit. Boston Hug Connection versus Bliss Cross Applesauce was real good. It was a good match. I love how Nikki Cross plants Sasha into a post, and then she cross bodies onto Bayley off the apron to the floor. It was such good stuff. Sasha moves in with the Meteora onto Cross afterwards. Bliss had a really nice, really good hot tag that ended with a shotgun drop kick and the somersault knees that she does. There's a super Bayley to Bayley that happened in this match. Tornado DDT off the apron and a code red by Alexa Bliss. You know, that same Alexa Bliss who doesn't know how to wrestle. And then there was the whole thing where, they continue the storyline where Bayley breaks up the bank statement to try and get her. And then because basically Sasha's not legal, so she gets Sasha out and then she applies the bank statement. It was good stuff. I loved this. I love the fact that Sasha and Bayley have won the titles. Bayley has 2 belts. This is clearly how we are going to lean into, well, I say clearly, but then again, you never know with WWE, am I right? This is going to be the point of contention. This is where Sasha and Bayley, their friendship is going to be really, really strained. I'm really excited to see where they're going to go with this. Are they going to save it for SummerSlam? I don't know, but I'm glad that they're that they're tag champions again. Makes a lot of sense. I liked it. Again, the women being super strong on SmackDown again this week. But then we move on to Raw, and we're going to talk about the whole opening segment nonsense. The whole. First of all, yes, there's hot trash right here. First and foremost, Connor McCabe, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. First and foremost, the whole opening segment in and about itself, it baffles my mind that you can get Charlotte Flair, Asuka, Bayley, Sasha Banks, and the Iconics all in the ring at the same time. 6 very talented, very entertaining women, and have the most milquetoast promos and segment that you could possibly imagine. That blows my mind. Everything was a nice surprise. It was a nice surprise to see Boston Hug show up. It was a nice surprise to have Iconics show up. But it was just like, hey, we're just each our turn saying our things. I'm like, how? This is the moment, WWE, where you need to start trying new things. Where you need to break out of these old formulas because it's not working. It's not as if you're draining new viewers every week, are you? No, you're not. Anyway, this all dissolves into a match because Asuka and Charlotte have a match later on, but then it dissolves into a 6-woman tag match because the Iconics challenge Sasha and Bayley to defend their tag titles at Backlash in a triple threat. And why would they come and ask for a triple threat? Why wouldn't it be just one-on-one? Why do they feel they have to add Alexa and Nikki in there? But that's what they did. A triple threat tag team match for the women's tag titles at Backlash. And somehow this all dissolves into a tag match, and somehow the Iconics get pinned for this match, while Charlotte and Asuka, who have been having a compelling feud so far, are involved in this match for some bizarre reason, despite the fact that they're main eventing. How useless was this opening segment? How absolutely useless was it? How did it serve the main event? It served the main event in no way. I want to ask, how did it serve to make the Icon? Did it help the Iconics make them look like challengers? No, it didn't. They lost. What comes out of this? How does this happen? And the apologists will all come and tell me, they'll say, Warren. Yes. Warren. Yeah, I'm listening. Warren. I'm listening. They'll say, Warren. Yeah, I'll stop the bit. They'll say, but WWE produces 7 hours of live content a week. You can't expect it all to be golden. But I don't buy this anymore. I don't buy that excuse anymore. Because it's a crutch. It cannot be. It can't. You produce 7 hours of live content a week, sure. But you have an entire staff that's entirely dedicated to coming up with ideas and creating them. And the problem is, and we all know what the problem is that ultimately it all caters to an audience of one guy who says what goes and what doesn't go. And usually these decisions are very last minute. And that's why we end up with this shit. There is I've said this before and I'll say it again. There is no reason why $1 billion company should be putting out this type of entertainment, this very poor level of sports entertainment. There is no reason, even if they do put out 7 hours of content a week, it doesn't matter. They shouldn't be having 6 amazing women in the ring and have nothing for them to say, really, and then create this segment that serves no one. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of that talent's time. It's a waste of money for WWE because they have sponsors who are paying for this time. None of it is good. It's bad stuff, guys. And it boggles my mind when I see this kind of stuff. Let's move on. I've said enough. I could say more, but we got more stuff to talk about. Like some warm soda. I actually have some very cold soda here. But we're going to do some warm soda here, and we're going to talk about the greatest match ever. Okay? We got to talk about it cuz we cannot not talk about it at this point. I'm convinced, and I was talking with Sean about this, and he's absolutely right, and I adhere to this right now. This is an SEO play. It's for Google search ranking. It's to take over. Whenever someone types in greatest wrestling match of all time, you'll have Backlash 2020 that's going to pop up at the top of your responses, despite the Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada Dominion 2018s, kind of thing. That's what's going to happen. This is why they're doing it. And the thing is that as much as I was into Orton and Edge going into WrestleMania, I'm watching these two old timers, these legends, these guys who have done it all, masters of their craft. I'm watching them now and I'm like, why am I not into this? Why am I not into their match at Backlash? What's the problem here? And it dawned on me and I got it. It's because the feud is no longer about Randy Orton versus Edge. The feud is about putting over the fact that this will be the greatest wrestling match of all time. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had legends of the business. Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle come onto our screens to tell us why they think this is going to be the greatest wrestling match of all time. Just this week on goddamn television, on their own TV, not social media posts, on TV. They're telling us that this is going to be as good as Flair versus Steamboat, Steamboat versus Savage, HBK versus Taker. It's going to be on that level. All the hype of this match has been entirely geared into making us believe that this is going to be the greatest match of all time. It's taken away from the wrestlers and their capacity, our vested personal interest in this. I don't give a shit about how it's being promoted. I don't care if, or at least it's not that I don't care. I care about Shawn Michaels' opinion a lot on a lot of stuff. Guy's a bona fide legend. But I can see through Shawn Michaels coming on TV to tell us, well, yeah, this has all the makings to be the greatest match of all time, knowing full well that the company's giving him lines. They're saying, we're giving you a paycheck, son. Here's what you got to say for us. I can see through that, and that breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because they're giving us the hard sell on a match where you didn't have to necessarily give us a hard sell. Leave Edge and Randy Orton do their thing. And you know what a hard sell is, right? Guys, you know, it's an advertisement technique or a sales approach, which is especially direct and insistent. It's designed to get a consumer to purchase a good or a service short term, like very quickly, rather than take the time to really evaluate what your options are. It's pressure. It's an aggressive technique to say, the more I tell you that this is going to, the more I tell you you want this, the more you are going to end up wanting it, kind of thing. Whether you like it or not, kind of thing. I don't like. I really don't like how they're building it, and that's my main problem with it. And this is why I'm not excited for this match, because there's no stakes to it. There's really no human interest, despite the promo that they did with Christian at the Peep Show. The greatest match ever hype is just, it's too much. It's just absolutely too much. That being said, I really like how Edge is leaning into the absurdity of it all on social media, where he's like, I'm having the greatest coffee of all time. I'm having the greatest donut of all time. At least, but I mean, Edge is a smart guy and he's a funny guy, so he knows how ridiculous this is. I really feel bad for his comeback. I really do. I honestly do. Throwback left us a super chat. Thank you very much. A very generous super chat, Throwback. Thank you. He says, Orton versus Ciampa versus Bryan. Who wins? Orton versus Ciampa on Twitter. Shoot or not. Would be interesting. Also, Edge and Orton have a problem. If Cole and Dream is any indicators of what could happen, we are in for a long night. Okay. A lot to unpack here. Orton versus Ciampa versus Bryan. Who wins? This is all a question of context at this point. Orton has a bunch of people to put over. Like, you mean, like, if Ciampa moves up to main roster, like, instantly, and it's like, what do we do? Of course, Ciampa goes over. Daniel Bryan has no problem putting new guys over. Randy Orton knows how to do the right thing for the business. I think it's good. I also think that Orton versus Ciampa on Twitter is nothing. I think it's just like, it's wrestlers just taking jabs at each other. I don't think there's any heat. It might be, I don't think it's a work. I don't think they're working towards a program. I don't think so. I could be surprised. We don't know what's in store for Tommaso moving forward. But yeah. And he said, if Cole versus Dream is any indicators of what could happen, we're in for a long night. I don't know what you mean. Because the match was pre-taped, because the match was pre-taped, the greatest match of all time was pre-taped. Yeah, because it's already in the can. It has been shot. It's been filmed. But from my understanding, it hasn't been shot cinematically. It's not a cinematic match. It's been shot as a wrestling match in a wrestling ring. DGMC leaves a message. Says Goldberg versus Cameron Grimes' hat. Who wins? Well, I mean, the hat wins regardless. The hat, just by showing up on our TV screens, the hat is the winner. Of course, everyone knows that. What are you guys talking about? Ya ding-dongs. Some quick cool beans. Asuka versus Charlotte ruled. It was such a good match. It was such a goddamn good match. And the thing here that is, the thing here Did anyone in WWE get the memo that Asuka has a match with Nia Jax on Sunday? Because sure, she got beat up at the end of the evening in a shit finish, but Charlotte and Asuka have been having a much more compelling feud on Raw as opposed to anything Asuka and Nia have been doing. And that's because Nia Jax is a charisma vacuum. She just sucks the joy out of everything. And no offense. Locker room leader and safe worker Nia Jax ends the match in the worst possible way, giving Charlotte the win on Asuka. That doesn't really bother me. It's just, to me, it's a tale of two feuds here. And somehow we're supposed to be invested in Nia versus Asuka. Because if anything, Nia and Kairi has more legs at this point. You know, Kairi Sane just snapping and going all stardom on her ass. My God, Nia wouldn't know what hit her. Because Nia, she's the type of wrestler. She's a receiver, right? She's a reactionary. She reacts to wrestling moves. That's the type of wrestler she is. Her offense is essentially, you do something to me and I'll do something to counter it, to work with it. That's what she does. That's her style. And you have Kairi Sane going completely batshit crazy on her, and Nia wouldn't know what to do. It'd be glorious. Anyway, it's just astounding how overlooked the Nia and Asuka match has been for Backlash. It's really been like a second thought. And I'm okay with that, to be perfectly honest. Let's move away from Nia Jax. Let's go to some warm soda. So it dawned on me watching Dynamite last night, when Jake Hager came out to be the next challenger in line for Cody's TNT Championship. It dawned on me that because I sat there and I was like, man, I don't care about Jake Hager. What has Jake Hager done of any kind of significance in AEW? And why is he getting title shots? Why did he get a title shot against John Moxley? Why is he getting another title shot against Cody? Now, I can understand that Cody and I can understand that Cody and that Cody's TNT Championship, he's basically rolling it as first come, first serve. If you want to first person to come up and say, I want to challenge the belt, I'll say, sure, come have it. Whereas the world title, well, you know, there's the rankings thing. There's earning your spot. And it dawned on me when I was having that thought. I was like, wait a second, I could apply all of this to the Inner Circle. Like right now, the Inner Circle is they're a main event comedy act. They haven't been winning any big matches. They won that tag team match a couple of weeks before Double or Nothing in the stadium, in the arena that generated all the memes. They won that match, sure, but whenever it's time for a big match to happen, ever since Chris Jericho lost the AEW World Championship, that's how I define the usage of the Inner Circle to this point. I think the only person who's really benefited from all of this is Sammy Guevara. He did get a win last night. He has been eating a lot of losses, but I think his stock has risen tremendously. Chris Jericho has been doing real well. You know, he's a master at managing like the comedy versus the seriousness. I think he's magnificent at that kind of stuff. And you know, Santana and Ortiz, don't get me wrong, it's given them all these weeks that they've been doing like the bubbly bunch and all that stuff. They've all been on TV. They've kept these guys on television and kept them fresh in our minds, despite the fact that they clearly didn't have a program for them, which is kind of insane when you think about it. But then again, you can't push everyone at the same time. So there's a lot of give and take. And Jake Hager, I don't know Jake Hager. Jake Hager? I don't understand Jake Hager. I don't understand what he's doing in AEW. This is a guy who was in AEW for months before he wrestled, and he wrestles on occasion, and we're supposed to think he's like this big dude because he need to the groin a guy in Bellator. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. So basically, what I'm saying here, because I remember when the Inner Circle started and a lot of us got excited, we were like, this is really cool. This is like an NWO 2.0 for the modern era, where you have like your legend who's at the helm of this. You got some really strong guys around him, a younger guy. It felt good, but I'm looking forward to a stronger, nastier Inner Circle. The guys who come in and viciously just murder people, but then also win matches, right? I'm looking forward to that. I kind of miss that. I'm not going to lie. Throwback left to Super Chat says, in regards to what we were talking about earlier regarding Cole and Velveteen Dream, that I wasn't sure what he was talking about. He says, no, it's because how bad Cole and Dream was. The hype for Edge and Orton match is even higher than Cole and Dream. That it can lead to the letdown if it doesn't go right. Street Profits and Viking Raiders barf needs to end. Yeah, that's for sure. I'm not even talking about it. It's just complete trash. Like I said, I talked about how I feel the Edge and Orton stuff isn't working, and it's not working because of the greatest match ever hype. Cole and Dream, I thought the buildup was okay. It's just the match wasn't good. The presentation was gorgeous. I loved the Ring of Cars. I loved Adam Cole Dream arriving in his Lambo with the smoke coming out with the bat, dressed like Negan from the Walking Dead. The presentation was amazing. The match stank. But they have to calm down a little bit. Like, I think it's different. By the way, Anthony from Smart to Death. Hello. I think the main problem, the main problem with the greatest match thing, as opposed to Cole versus Dream, is that one of them is just being way too on the nose. Edge versus Orton. It's overshadowing the match itself. And it's not even a question of expectations anymore. It's just a question that I don't care about the wrestlers in the match anymore because they're not shining. They're not the stars of this match. The hype for this match is the star of the match. There we go. There we go. Yes. And we're going to go on to some cool beans. I was talking about the Inner Circle match that they had versus the Best Friends. Inner Circle being Santana and Ortiz and Hager versus the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy was real good. I thought it was a fun match. I'm going to tell you guys, it was so solid. The Best Friends, quietly right now, are doing some of the best work on AEW week after week. Whether it's Trent in his solo matches, or he and Chucky in their tag matches, and even with good old Squeeze, they're really good these days. They have been stepping it up and becoming a real deal. Not just like this joke tag team where it's like, oh, these are the guys who hold their hands and hug. Yeah. No. They're real good. The angle with Orange Cassidy at the end, I loved it. Yes, it was stupid. Why? Oranges? Yeah, because I had someone on Twitter say, why does it always have to be comedy with these guys? It's not necessarily comedy. It's silly. First of all, it's wrestling. So pulling out a big bag of oranges, 20 pounds of oranges, which could crush a man's skull, is the most pro wrestling thing ever. I mean, it just makes perfect sense in the world of wrestling. so that they pull it out and they beat the shit out of Orange Cassidy. They have him blade. I loved it. Orange Cassidy is one of the most over acts in AEW. And now he's feuding with Chris Jericho. Are you fucking kidding me? This is perfect. This is exactly what they need to be doing with this guy. Strike while the iron is hot. And you don't have to put him in a title program. Put him in a program with one of your biggest stars, biggest attractions, a legend who will do what is best for business. Chris Jericho knows himself. He's got nothing left to prove. He just wants to continue wrestling because he loves it, and he's in a position where he can help new talent go forward. So this program with Cassidy, are you kidding? Jericho's going to lean into this so hard, and he's going to look at what he did for Pineapple Pete. Look at what he did for Pineapple Pete. And Pineapple Pete wasn't even an established star. And now you have an established guy like Cassidy that he's going to just enjoy the shit out of. This was great. And I loved seeing Orange Cassidy covered in blood. It's like, but he's so nice and cool and chill. Why are you doing this to poor Orange Cassidy? It was just so vile. And Jericho with the goddamn greatest, corniest line that only him could deliver and not be like completely cringe. He picks up the mic after they beat the shit out of Orange. Orange is bleeding on the mat and he says, "Blood Orange Cassidy has been juiced." And I'm like, chef kiss x2 ×2. My God, that was good stuff. I loved it. It was really, really funny. I digged it. And to be honest, I'm much more looking forward to this than anything related to Mike Tyson. Anything more. It's fantastic stuff. DGMC left a couple of super chats. Let's see what words of wisdom he has to say. DGMC says, match should have been on the set of Purple Rain, meaning the backlogged brawl. That would have been really cool. DGMC says, still think we're getting Jericho versus Sammy versus Tyson and Orange Cassidy. That would make sense and would be a great way to shield Tyson throughout all of this, right? I think, you know what? That makes a lot of sense to me. That really does make a lot of sense. Evan Wright left us a super chat as well, saying AEW's women's division is looking awesome right now. And you know what? The thing is that it's the exact same women's division. They haven't done any big pickups. They haven't, they've been hiring some developmental talent, some indie talent, but they haven't been doing any big pickups really. So it's a good sign if they're progressing in this direction. I really liked the women's tag match on Dynamite as well. I really did. And it kind of leaned into JPQ's theory that we posited upon a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Double or Nothing, where he said, bring in Hikaru Shida, make her the Bret Hart of the women's division, put the title on her, make her the Bret Hart that she can have great matches and, be a bit of a ring general and elevate the entire division. That's exactly what they're doing with Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford has gotten better. I don't know if she's ready for prime time all that much, or at least a big spot, but she has improved tremendously. Putting her in the ring with Hikaru Shida, it's good stuff, because if you never put your wrestlers in those kinds of positions, they'll never improve. It's just as simple as that. I think it's a good move. And yes, the division, the women's division is clearly improving. Throwback left us another super chat, says Edge sees Warren's podcast. This is the greatest podcast ever. He died. Goddamn right. He should do that. And one last thing, just some warm soda before we leave the inspection. I am not in favor of Killer Kross going after Adam Cole's title. I'm not. Not at this conjecture. Not at this stage. It feels like The Fiend all over again. I really did feel, and I still feel, that there is much more juice to be squeezed out, and I'm not trying to be funny with what happened to Orange Cassidy. I am not, here's the thing. I am not, I am of the belief that there is a lot more that you can get out of Killer Kross versus Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa didn't accept losing so hard, wants to learn, comes back after him. That's what I want. They have the grounds for a fucking good feud that could end easily in the fight pit. Tommaso Ciampa, Killer Kross, give us a trio of matches culminating in the fight pit. Are you kidding me? It'd be fantastic. The one thing that I don't want to, the one thing that I don't like here is Kross coming straight after the title. After this big win, I think they're hot-shotting this. They could drag this out some more. It could be much more, it could be a lot more, it could be a lot more drawn out. Kross could be going through more guys. Now, some people told me, no, but she just put an hourglass and, maybe not next week, but it could take a while still before Killer Kross it gets to the title. It could be just like we're counting down the time before your time is limited, basically, Adam Cole. Okay, sure, but I don't trust WWE. I don't trust WWE storytelling for a single solitary second. NXT, a little more. But even so, these days I feel like NXT is being booked a lot more like main roster than the NXT that I knew and love. So I'm very, very weary moving forward here as to whether or not they should go down this road. If this was New Japan, I'd have no problem with it. If this was New Japan, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is long-term booking, go right ahead. But there is no long-term booking in NXT. And there's rumors that there's going to be quite a few call-ups coming up. We'll see what happens. But as for now, I'll tell you what's going to happen. We're going to wrap up the weekly wrestling inspection. Folks, thank you still for being here. You can also, as usual, leave us a super chat. Leave me a super chat. But us, as a collective hive mind, I guess, you can leave us a super chat. Don't forget you can do that. And I will read your question or comment. And be sure to, if you want as well, come and join me on Patreon, patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. After we're done here, the post stream, where we're going to talk more wrestling stuff. And we have a super chat from Evan Wright here, who's saying, here's my problem. Since when did an hourglass make a ticking sound? That's very, very true. That's very, very true. I hadn't thought of that, but that's fantastic. It says the Kross Fiend comparison is spot on. Look, well, giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? I always want to see, maybe I'm shooting from the hip a little too quickly. And if so, I will be the first to, I will gladly backtrack and say, you know what, guys, I may have been a little too quick on the draw on this end, if things go out. But hey, you know what? We'll see what happens. Just before, well, not just before, but as I was getting ready for the show and typing out my notes and being like, oh, got lots of good stuff to talk about, WWE drops one. They drop a statement, an official statement from WWE.com. Are you ready for this? I'm sure you've all heard it by now, but for the record, to make it public record, on the Mr. Warren Hayes show, I'm going to read it from WWE.com. In an effort to streamline our creative writing process for television, we have consolidated both teams from Raw and SmackDown into one group led by Bruce Pritchard. Paul Heyman will concentrate on his role as an in-ring performer. You gotta love the you gotta love the corporate speak in this. Because we have to streamline our creative writing process. So we consolidated both teams into like I do PR work. In my shoot living, this is what I do for a living. So I see through this junk. It's like, let's put some words that have very vague meanings that make dumb people sound smart, and let's just go with it. And people will be like, it's hard to challenge something that's been consolidated. And it's not as strong a word as unified, which means something. Anyway, look, I'm not. This isn't PR 101. Basically, Paul Heyman's been demoted. Oh, this is not good. Folks, this is not good. It's Heyman's been working. He's been back in WWE for a while. And he even though he was at first an on-air personality, maybe he did some production work. Like there were lots of talks that he was working with Ronda Rousey on her promos, right? We all recall that. He was always very involved in creative, giving advice, helping out quite a bit. And he was put in charge in Raw. Let's start that again. He was put in charge of Raw last June, like practically a full year ago, with Eric Bischoff, who was in charge of Smackdown. And as we recall, Bischoff didn't quite work out. He said recently, well, it's just, I couldn't adapt. I had a failure. Me leaving WWE is on me, kind of thing. Okay, cool. So when Bischoff left, Bruce Pritchard was called back in to put him in his place. Now, Bruce Pritchard, a lot of you, especially if you're younger fans, you probably know him as the guy who has that podcast with Conrad Thompson where they talk about the old days when he used to work in WWE as a producer, as a vice president, all the roles that he's held in creative within the company. And he's very entertaining podcast. But the one thing that we have to, that has been a constant throughout Bruce Pritchard's life, and anyone who has had stories about Bruce Pritchard alongside him, is very simple. There's just one thing that identifies, that makes Bruce Pritchard, that Bruce Pritchard is a yes man. He answers to Vince, and he makes sure that Vince stays happy. Now, I'm not saying that in a derogatory manner. He does what he needs to do to stay, to keep a job, to stay in business, right? That's what he does. But Bruce is a guy who left wrestling early 2000s, mid 2000s, and has been effectively out of the wrestling business right up until he started doing a few things with MLW, and he popped back up on TNA a couple of times. But effectively, he's been away from the business and its evolution all that time. And he's a guy, there's no surprise here. Like I told you, he's a Vince guy. He's a guy that Vince McMahon trusts practically blindly because of his loyalty, his decisions, what he's done in the past. And he's an old guy. He's an old guy of the old guard, and this is not what we need. Now, for Paul Heyman is not without his own faults. Paul is a guy who can also react, right? And be like, this is the flavor of the week, and go off on something and like, no, you know what? We're going to scale this back. We're going to try this instead. He's not without fault here. But Paul Heyman is a guy who has never let go of the pulse of the business. This is a guy who on Raw has created, when you think about it and you take a step back, the most diverse main roster brand the company has. Where we've had, where every week you have, of course, you have white people being pushed, but you've got black people there as well, Japanese and Hispanic stars, which are put in prominent places on television. And he's been doing this ever since he's been in position. He understands the composition and the importance of diversity on a wrestling show. And I can't believe that they are scapegoating Heyman for Raw's floundering ratings when there are so many extenuating circumstances in the world, first and foremost, but also scapegoating him because he is not responding to the audience of one, which is Vince McMahon. Wrestling desperately needs new voices in creative roles. And this is our boy, Garrett Kidney over on Twitter. Shout out to him. I'm going to quote him directly because he encompassed my exact feelings about this in this tweet. And go follow Garrett. If you like video games, if you like wrestling, Garrett's your man. And tell him Warren says hi. He says, it's been the same people cycling through positions of power for 20 years in WWE. And he's right. And that's what makes AEW most interesting. You have a new set of creative minds in positions of power who can make new decisions and try new things out with wrestling. I say it often enough. You guys know I am for new ideas in wrestling, trying out new things. I am not part of the crowd who has trembled before the uncertainty that was the cinematic matches that were presented over WrestleMania weekend. I was like, we need to be trying new stuff. And as a company, and this is what baffles me, especially from Vince McMahon, who's supposed to be the shrewd businessman, business as usual is not cutting it. I don't like to talk about ratings. That's not the point, but I do know that the ratings are slipping in regards to Raw. And no matter who you're going to put in charge, until you start mixing up the formula, until you start offering something new for a new generation of viewers, it's not going to connect. And it is not by putting Bruce Pritchard in a position of in the top creative position over both shows that it is going to fix the problem. You can all say goodbye to strong heels in WWE. Bruce Pritchard can't make a strong heel. To him, your boy Baron Corbin, when he has something bad that happens to him, instead of getting angry, Baron goes, why did, wah, This is not a good idea. And I'm not saying that Paul Heyman is the absolute solution and you have to keep him in there. But I'll be damned if Raw wasn't interesting, especially since the PC era started. I'll be damned if it wasn't interesting on that end. And I'll be damned if he wasn't part of the solution. Maybe not the solution, but definitely part of it. Again, we'll see how things go. But I am not super confident in this. I really am not.
Oh, yeah.
Kirby Freeman, how you doing? Got a couple of super chats here. Throwback left another very generous super chat. Thank you, Throwback, very much. He says, sounds like Brock is coming back and Pritchard is a bad choice. Heyman being on Raw brought young talent front and center, Apollo, Ricochet, Cedric, Aleister Black. Let's not forget. And now Pritchard will do what the old man tells him, so get used to 50-50. Yep. Well, I mean, both brands have been guilty of 50-50. There's exceptions to this rule. But, Heyman putting a lot of stock into Angel Garza, into Zelina, Aleister Black. I'm convinced that he had a lot to do with Drew McIntyre going over at WrestleMania. I am 100% convinced with that. That he talked to Brock and was like, this is the right move. This is the good thing. And these things take time, man. And unless you're really going to shake up your formula, you got to give it room to breathe. You just have to. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you, Evan. Saying, best heel in the business, Baron Corbin, baby. Woo, okay. Thank you for the meme. Kirby Freeman. Did I say hello to you, Kirby Freeman? How you doing? Welcome to the chat. All right, let's move on. Another topic. We're going to talk about the Charlotte Flair problem. Everyone likes to talk about Charlotte Flair, right, chat? Jason PS3, how you doing? Everyone likes to talk about Charlotte, right? And I want to ask you guys something. I want to ask you this straight off the bat. Or at least, did I not warn you? Did I not warn all of you, good viewers of the Mr. Warren Hayes show, astute listeners of the Mr. Warren Hayes show, did I not warn you all that with Becky gone, they were going to lean in hard on Charlotte? Did I not warn you all? Because goddamn I did. And here's the thing. It's a smart move. It's the smartest move to do. Because, guys, Charlotte is a good professional wrestler. Charlotte is charismatic as hell. Charlotte can talk. Charlotte really is a complete package as far as wrestlers go. She looks like a star. She handles herself like a star. She is a star. So it makes sense. And I know a lot of people don't like her. I know a lot of people just can't stand the sight of her. And I think there's a lot of reasons on it that are unfounded and are the same bubbling dislike that exists for things like John Cena and Roman Reigns being overpushed. And granted, I'll be right there with you in a couple of months if Charlotte keeps getting shoved down our throats. I'm like, this is terrible. They shouldn't be doing this. But I feel bad for the athletes. I think WWE is making shit decisions. Roman Reigns didn't ask to be pushed like he did. That's just Vince being Vince and saying you're going to like this guy come hell or high water. And ultimately it hurt him. And if they're not careful, it's going to be the same with Charlotte. But I'd just like to take a second here. Because the Charlotte problem isn't the Charlotte problem that you're all thinking I'm going to talk about. I think the Charlotte problem is a lot of perception. There's a lot of perception that I don't think is real and I don't think is valid. Most of the time, you'll have people come out and say, of course she's a tall blonde with big boobs. Of course Vince is going to put her over. Look, I want you to go and right now, open up an extra window in your browser and I want you to look at the list of recent WWE champions. I want you to point out how many blondes there have been. I really want you to do that over the past 3 years or so. I really want you to go back and take a look at that. If all you can do is think back to the Attitude Era where it was Sable and Trish Stratus, sure, yeah, but not anymore, folks. And that's a discourse that really has to end because it serves no one. And it makes the people promoting that kind of stuff look fucking stupid. That's one thing. The second thing, she's a Flair. She got all her opportunities handed to her. Charlotte wasn't really crazy about wrestling when she started. She was a gymnast, but then she started getting into it. She started training in FMW and she started to, not FMW, Florida Championship. If she was training in FMW, Jesus Christ, in FCW. And it started to grow on her. She started to like it. And it's not because she was a Flair that she got the opportunities. She worked hard. Because we can point out a whole bunch of wrestlers who have their father's name who didn't quite make it as strongly. That clearly you could make an argument for the nepotism angle or the nepotism argument, but that just didn't work that way. We can just think of Curtis Axel straight off the bat. Didn't quite work out the way you wanted, right? Same thing goes for Natalia. Huh? Jim Neidhart's daughter. There are many second generation wrestlers who maybe got through the door a little easier, let's put it that way, to get into the business. But just look back at Randy Orton, and when he talks about his career and how difficult it was for him to break it to break in and be taken seriously because he was Cowboy Bob's son. It really goes both ways, folks. The nepotism stuff is stupid because Charlotte works hard. She has always worked hard, and she has always made the most of the opportunities that she was given. Has she been given a lot of opportunities? Yes. Am I going to argue against the argument that against the contention that she's the golden child for as far as corporate goes? No, of course she is. I was telling you guys they're going to lean into her when Becky's gone. Of course I know she's the golden goose. She's the one they wanted to push. She's the one they wanted to push when the entire WWE watching universe, the entire fan base wanted Becky. They were like, no, you guys want Charlotte. But we were like, no, we want Becky. And they had to pivot. So now Becky's gone. They can do whatever they want at this point. Sure, she gets a lot of opportunities. But you know what? Charlotte gets a good push once every 2 years. Every other year. And you can go on Cage Match to check her stats. In 2016, let's just like 2016, she won 61% of her matches. In 2017, she had a more even record. 55% of her was her win record. 2018, 64% of her matches were won. 2019, she won 25% of her matches. She lost almost 3/4 of her matches last year. Now, this year, she's back on top with a good winning record. And the opportunities, Jesus, people, she lost in 2019, last year. She lost the SmackDown Women's Championship 3 times. She won and lost it in the same evening. Yes, they want her to get 17 wins to beat Ric Flair's record. And you know what? I'm okay with that because it's a good story. And it's something that Ric Flair will mark out for. He loves it. Of course. Why wouldn't you tell that story? Why would you not tell that story? It's an amazing story to tell. We've had the stories where John Cena was like, apparently John Cena was like, I don't want to break Ric's record. That's not mine to break. Well, whose is it then if it's not his daughter's? I think it's fantastic. But then I understand where I concur with a lot of people is the moment where we sort of sit back and we're like, well, she's all over the place. What about the other women? Charlotte was on Maria Menounos' podcast earlier this week, and she was saying, you know what, I might want kids. She's what, 35? Something like that. She's 35. So if Charlotte disappears and Becky's gone or at least roundaboutly at the same time, who do you have left? This is when you should be building your women. And you cannot rest on the 4 horsewomen for the rest of your life. You just can't. And this is where you have to start building your other women. Now, if we go back to TakeOver, she was in the triple threat. She lost the title, but she didn't get pinned. Triple H, it was Rhea who ate the pin. Rhea, who her booking since WrestleMania has just been mind-bogglingly bad. Even leading up to WrestleMania. I was like, I don't know what they're doing with her. at the media call, at the post takeover media call, Triple H was asked the question, and he says, "Oh, the pin is part of a bigger story." I don't have faith in WWE to tell a bigger story. I don't think there is a bigger story. I think it was deflecting anything. Again, if this was New Japan Pro Wrestling, I'd be like, sure, there's probably some long-term story coming along here. Then I trust. But WWE doesn't have a plan for Rhea and Charlotte moving forward. They don't. They don't have long-term planning. It's just not a thing. Because if they did have long-term planning, we would not have spent the last month not seeing Bianca Belair on Raw after being called up. We would not have spent the last 2 to 3 weeks not even getting a peep of Shayna Baszler. If they had long-term planning, we would already be having Liv Morgan in serious contendership for any title, or at least in a tag team. And they probably would have dragged Rhea Ripley up from NXT and have her become the badass again. The problem with Charlotte, in my opinion, of course, has nothing to do with her looks, her opportunities, her last name, her work rate, which, by the way, I think has been dramatically improving. I've said it once and I'll say it again. The minute she stopped doing tornado DDTs and relying on springboard stuff and going into power moves and a more grounded offense, she's been turning it up, right? The problem with WWE is that they don't build stars. This is throughout the board. And they're not building women stars. Otherwise, why are we having Sonya Deville lose a match when she is clearly on an upswing, when she clearly has an organic fan base of people who are like, yeah, let's get behind this chick. We believe she's vicious and strong and could snap a person's neck. Why are they keeping Shayna Baszler off TV when Shayna is exactly that same type of character that they build so strongly in NXT? Why, for the love of God, is Bianca Belair being completely ignored? Why is Naomi still being relegated to nothing? Carmella is a former women's champion and a Money in the Bank winner. She makes the best out of every single fucking opportunity she's given. Why are we not creating sustainable, strong stars that can look good in defeat, but then don't disappear for months at a time? AEW does it fantastically with their guys, with their men's division. That's why we have guys like MJF and Sammy Guevara and Jungle Boy, which everyone is pointing out and saying, these guys are fantastic. They're the future of the company right here. Because they're pushing them well. They're giving them stories. They're giving them moments to shine, and they're not keeping them off TV 3 weeks at a time. The women's division is not being properly elevated, and we're going to end up in another situation just like after WrestleMania 35 when Becky had no contenders to defend her two straps against when she won them and had to go into a program with Lacey Evans. This is exactly what's going to happen again. We're going to end up with no women, no strong women to go up against the protected women, and everything's going to feel flat. So then, as a solution to hotshot this, well, let's put Bayley and Charlotte in another feud again. I mean, I'm okay with these titles. I'm okay with these feuds. Charlotte and Bayley work fantastic together. That's not the problem. The problem is we want diversity. We want to see more women. We want to be able to cheer a division on. Why do you think people lost their minds when Evolution was put up on television? Oh, do you think you guys want another Evolution? Yes, God damn it. And the women shouldn't have to prove themselves again. They proved themselves. They worked hard to get their pay-per-view. They shouldn't have to be like in another situation where they're in a proving grounds environment where like, yeah, we have to work hard again to show that we deserve another pay-per-view. No. Don't give me any horse shit. Oh, well, it didn't draw that much. You don't know how much Evolution drew. You don't know how much because WWE doesn't put out the numbers, doesn't put out the network numbers in regards to their programming. So we don't know how many people watched Evolution. And even if it did tank, I can tell you about poor performing, what was it, TLC 2013? On pay-per-view, it was less than 100,000 buys. And they kept doing TLC pay-per-views despite that. The Evolution didn't draw, so they're not doing it again. It's bullshit. That's a bullshit answer. These are all decisions that WWE is making to not put the women forward, to not give them their pay-per-views. It's just as simple as that. And it's the same thing here where they're deciding to push Charlotte and not give room for any other women to expand. And this is not on Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair doing interviews saying, yeah, I'm the greatest woman wrestler of all time. Of course she's going to say that. She's cutting promos. She's doing interviews. Of course. That's part of the gimmick. That's what you have to do. Brian Penn, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. Last topic. I'm going long tonight. But there's so much juicy stuff, and I want to finish on a good note too. I want to finish on something positive, rather than complaining about the women and complaining about Charlotte and complaining about people complaining about Charlotte. No, I'm not talking about Goldberg. Talking about New Japan. New Japan is back, babies. Oh my goodness! What a beautiful, beautiful revelation it was this Monday when New Japan held a press conference and told the world, we're coming back. We're doing empty arena shows. We're bringing a whole sorts of stuff back. It's so... Isn't it great? Isn't it great? You got... Honestly, this is what I was waiting for. I love AEW. WWE when it doesn't get on my nerves. But there's nothing that compares to New Japan. I'm so excited that it's back. Oh, wait a second. We had a super chat. I just forgot. Throwback left us a super chat, right? Yeah. Sorry, Throwback. I almost forgot your super chat. Thank you again. Just adding more wrestlers to my point that, champions that aren't blondes. Sasha, Bayley, Asuka, Becky, Naomi, Ronda, the Bellas, to add to your point. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Throwback. Thank you for having my back here. So, first and foremost, right? 110 days after their last event, they're coming back, starting with the Together Project special on Monday, June 15. And these are empty arena matches. Not quite sure what the Together Project special is going to be. They said that they are going to be matches, that the matches are going to be announced on the day, at the event when it starts. So that's really cool. It's going to be broadcast on New Japan World. And your boy's going to have a post-stream. That's right. I'm going to have a post-stream Monday morning for those of us on Eastern Standard Time. Anthony from Smart to Death is going to join me as well. And it's going to be a good time. So I'm really excited for. Then from July, all throughout the month, right up until July 11th, empty arena shows where they're going to be holding the New Japan Cup, which we all thought was going to be completely eradicated, taken off the face of the earth. No. It's not deleted. It's not gone. They didn't officially cancel it. They're bringing it back. And that's really exciting because you guys know I like me some tournament wrestling. It's such good shit, pal. And then on July 11 and 12, Dominion. They're booking it as Dominion. I'm so stoked. In case you don't know, Dominion is the second biggest show of the year for New Japan. It's essentially their their SummerSlam, I should say. It's the second biggest match, second biggest card of the year. 2 nights, July 11 and 12, and they're going to do it in front of limited capacity crowds at the Osaka-jo Hall. And there's going to be on night 1 the finals of the New Japan Cup. Night 2 is going to be the winner of the New Japan Cup versus Tetsuya Naito. Oh boy, your boy is stoked for this. I am real excited for all of this to come back down. And I mean, just quickly off the top of my head, you look at the New Japan Cup. It's good stuff. Let's see, what do we got? Let's see, you've got first and foremost, it's an open weight tournament this year. Usually it's the heavyweights, but they're making it open weight because there's a glaring lack of gauging wrestlers. Lots of guys living, lots of natives, lots of Japanese, well, mostly all Japanese, except for two, Zack Sabre Jr., who I guess lives in Japan. I don't know. And Gabriel Kidd, like Nick Wolf pointed out through a super chat. Thank you very much, Nick Wolf. Gabriel Kidd to win the New Japan Cup. Shocker. Yeah, that'd be a shock. Gabriel Kidd, who's in the dojo system, so probably just was fortuitous that he was there. But you can tell in the brackets that, you know, you have Jado in there, Gato, there, you know, you have Kojima and Tenzan who are in it. Like, they're not your big players, right? They're not the big guns. Kanemaru's in there. Okay, yeah, but it's all right. Clearly, you know, they don't have the entire roster, all the star power. You know, Will Ospreay's not in there. Jay White's not in there. Phantasmo's not in there. There's a lot of people missing here, but there's going to be some surprises that we've been told throughout the New Japan Cup and the machine, not the machine, but the tournament that they're the events that they're going to be holding as well. Some surprises there. But I mean, there's some great first round matches that a lot of us are instantly looking forward to. Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr. is one of them. Shingo versus Sho. Ooh, that's an early hose me down right there. I'd even say Taguchi versus Sanada has some legs. It could be really good. Anyway, these matches will take place like we said in empty arenas. Fans will be welcome back for Dominion on July 11 and 12. And there's going to be a strict set of guidelines to be adhered to for all forthcoming events. And yeah, and when they say strict, I read them. I'm like, okay, if they can pull all of this off, because they were saying, I'll read verbatim here. New Japan will adhere to the policies held by the prefecture in which the said event will take place. If events are allowed, New Japan will confirm the event policy of said prefecture and discuss the policy with venues before events are booked. After negotiating with the venue, New Japan will consider the style of the event, such as holding an event without fans, limiting audience, so on and so forth, cancel or postpone the event. So that'll be like for all of the events moving forward. And basically, they're straight off the bat, they say prefectures under states of special caution or emergency. In principle, New Japan will not hold an event with general spectators. So, like, if there's an area of Japan where it's like, no assembly, it's like, okay, cool. Prefectures not under special caution will be submitted to the following measures. And man, there's a lot of them. There's really a lot. Like, wrestlers will have to take their temperature twice a day. Wrestlers will have to record the date and place and people who are in physical contact with them. They'll have to immediately quarantine themselves if they show off any COVID-19 symptoms. Trainers will be responsible for alerting to New Japan anyone showing symptoms. Staff will be limited, press members as well, in event venues, as well as the time spent in the venue. Like the wrestlers are all going to be told, once you're done with your thing, you hit the bricks, pal. You don't hang around here. They have to attendees to a venue must wear a mask at all times. They have to consent to a temperature check. They have to disinfect their hands. Doors will open earlier to avoid crowding. There'll be seating arrangements, of course, to respect social distancing. Merch selling will stop if crowding occurs. And in catering backstage for the wrestlers, food and beverage is all going to be identified. It's all going to have each wrestler's name. That's wild, man. That's really wild. So, yeah. And, I was talking about this with a couple of people, and we're like, my God, how are they going to enforce all of this? Well, there's a different culture in Japan. The audience is already very much more reserved and I don't want to say under control. They're much more disciplined. There we go. Much more disciplined than the rowdy crowds in North America. There's always, the rules of engagement, I guess, that always that are always presented. When you'd have Liger, police cop Liger, telling the rules and stuff. That's all good stuff. So I think that it won't be that hard. I don't think it'll be that hard to establish these rules and enforce them, especially. I really don't. It'll be interesting to see how it goes out. But my God, if New Japan hasn't taken this whole situation very, very seriously and done the right decision, you guys heard, right, that the Bushido Road board members, the parent company that owns New Japan, they all took pay cuts during this period so that they could keep money flowing. I think it's fantastic. I really do. New Japan has been amazing in their handling of the whole COVID situation. Got to tell you, I can't wait to see how things go. Just like Evan Wright, who left a super chat earlier on saying New Japan Cup predictions is Okada versus Hiromu on the left, Tanahashi versus Shingo on the right, and Okada versus Shingo in the finals with Shingo winning. That's a bold, bold prediction. If you want to hear my predictions, the Blazer Bros are going to be reuniting this Monday evening. In case you don't want to watch Raw all that much, or if you want to watch Raw and have us hang around, we're going to be there. We're going to be bracketeering the whole thing. I'm going to be going through the whole bracket. It's going to be a good time. So that'll be Monday night with the Blazer Bros. And Evan Wright also left another super chat saying, give me G1 and Best of Super Juniors in one tour. My body can take it. You think so? You think you can take it? The G1 as it stands right now, their plans haven't moved because they had already bumped up the G1 to the fall this year. So we'll see. I just want my G1. God, I love the G1. G1 is the best time of year. It's really the best time of year. There you have it, folks. We're going to wrap this one up for real this time. Whew, there was a lot of stuff to go through, and your boy Warren was just very passionate tonight. But I'm not done being passionate. Kristen, if you're watching, how you doing? No, listen. I'm going to head on over to YouTube. Not YouTube. I'm already on YouTube. I'm going to head over to patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes and kick off the post stream. We're going to talk about a bunch of things that I haven't necessarily discussed here. I'm going to dive a little more into some AEW stuff as well. Stuff that's happened on Dynamite. I'm going to talk about Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles and anything that you guys want to talk about. Well, bring your topics. Let's talk. We'll talk some more stuff then. So thank you everyone for hanging out all this time live here in the chat. I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. It's always so good. And if you liked it and you haven't already, give the video a thumbs up. Really do appreciate it. Thank you everyone again for watching, listening, whatever you do. I'll see you next time.